We also want to just make sure that when it comes to housekeeping rules, please keep your mouse, your microphone muted unless you have a question. We will take questions throughout. If you have questions, please drop the questions in the drop box, the chat box. I will monitor them and we will take those throughout. If you're dialing in with your cell phone and computer, we ask that you guys please mute your laptop speaker so it won't interfere with background and all that good stuff when you come off mute if you have to speak. We encourage you guys to step up and step back. We want to encourage those who normally sit back to step up, to ask questions, to be engaged. And those who normally step up, we want you to open the floor to give room for other people to actually step up. We want to also let you guys know that this is a welcoming environment. This is a safe place. So if there's anything that's been said, and someone stepped on your toes, something hurt your feelings, speak up. We want to know. We want to be able to apologize or correct it because this is a safe space, and we are family here. And our mission, our goal is all the same: to support students. So we ain't trying to do all the extra stuff. We want to make sure that we have what we need to continue to be successful at our affiliates. Okay. So I am done talking, and I'm going to turn my camera off, and I'm going to present. I'm going to hand it off to our presenters.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Frederick, for the great introduction. I want to thank you all for attending this event, and like you said, please ask questions because we are here today to give you the building blocks of affiliate alumni programs through a framework of successful programs. You have two amazing affiliates, Communities and Schools of Atlanta, Communities and Schools of South Central Texas, two different approaches, but with the same mission, helping students achieve in life. So it's been a great pleasure working with Liberty for the past few weeks, putting this together. I definitely want to shout out before we start our amazing marketing team that brought two worlds together and made them one. So we hope that you enjoy. We wanted to make it engaging. So please, again, ask questions and Frederick will help facilitate. Before we start, I want to thank my CEO, Frank Brown, my director of programs, Ms. Dorothy Stiles, and our CIS of Atlanta board for giving us the vision to have this program.
And I just want to thank our CEO of South Central Texas, Chris Douglas, for just everything that has always been bestowed and blessed, and the incredible work that we're able to do with our alumni. And getting to work with Caleb has been an incredible blessing, and this opportunity to co-facilitate and start this discussion about what does it mean to achieve in life? Does the CIS mission continue after the graduation stage? And as we start to discover that, yes, it does, us coming together with strategy, discussing and figuring out what is the why behind alumni engagement, what is the how behind alumni engagement, and how do we as affiliates start to work with these alumni or create new programming for our alumni, because it's just simply not fair that when our kids get to the high school graduation stage, it's like we go, bye, I hope life works out for you, good luck. They need us, they want to stay engaged. And so today's conversation is simply that, it's a conversation. And we hope that you will engage with us during this conversation so that we can continue this great mission of alumni engagement.
Absolutely. All right, we want to start around the why. We pulled some national data. We can also discuss a few local data, but this is a why we understand, because high school is not enough. Building the case for this framework, building the case for the support. And you'll load the history in a few slides later, but just to start off, in college, for college students from low-income communities, over 3.9 million students drop out of college because of debt. And that could come from high school access, the lack of access program, but mostly the lack of scholarship opportunities or just awareness. And the debt that is created becomes a major burden and forces many students to drop out of school.
And 90% of low-income first-gen students do not graduate within their first 6 years of college. Another astounding statistic is that 1 in 3 college freshmen, they start college, but they do not persist after their first year of college. So it comes back to that why. Why do we need to stay engaged with our alumni? And how do we start to do that if we know these statistics are already barriers that are in front of them?
Absolutely, absolutely. And with these barriers, we talk about economic inequality and access to jobs. In this staggering number, 185 million. The richest 400 people in America own more wealth than the bottom 185 million people combined. And who are those bottom 185? That's our Black and brown communities, which is a testament to our caseloads that we serve in the Metro Atlanta area or in South Central Texas. To make it more personal, in the Metro Atlanta area, according to the United Way Child Wellbeing Index, only 37% of high school students have financial means and prerequisites to enter college and graduate, compared to 70% of students from affluent communities. And again, that goes to the college access program, the equitable opportunities. So that's what alumni programming or the framework can help alleviate that program.
And with just 9% of low-income students earning a bachelor's degree by the time they're in their mid-20s, compared to the 77% of their wealthy peers, it again just brings back full circle to us that we need to have a plan, a strategy of engagement, and a way to continue with our young adults to help make sure that they can have successful lives and successful futures and can achieve in life.
And just a snapshot of our story. We're babies in this. However, we're not babies into the CIS network. In fact, we are the oldest. In 1972, Community Schools was founded in Atlanta, basically in a basement, finding students that were either dropped out of school or on the verge of dropping out of school. The focus for the long was promotion through graduation, giving those resources to be successful, because at that time, a high school diploma could propel you to college. But we know today we need more. So it started with a visionary like our CEO, Frank Brown, understanding that high school wasn't enough, and not many programs or had access to help students beyond college. We started small. We started with one student. I actually was a site coordinator at Forest Park High School, and there was a student that just needed some support around college readiness. And we found out the student was homeless because she missed a few days of school, and knowing that despite her grades being great, despite her being on a trajectory on paper to look good, she really needed that additional support. So then we continued to grow, and in 2017, our college and career readiness excursion, that's the exposure that students need, taking students to New York City to commemorate the 40th year of Communities and Schools National ringing of, which was celebrated by ringing the opening bell at the stock exchange. On that trip, we had 2 future college student athletes who never even got on the plane, in spite of signing scholarship offers to play major Division I college football, where their regular travel would be on planes. So that exposure helped alleviate that fear that they were going to have, but it opened our eyes to say, hey, we need more. So we expanded from 20 students to 50 students in 2018. And that's by getting a bunch of freshman students prepared to get into the alumni program. In 2020, we had more of a formalized program. We really said, hey, this needs to become a serious thing. And by that, we formalized the Alumni Association. And currently today, in 2021, we have over 100 students that we are serving, providing support, mostly in college. And it is that much of an initiative that we want to provide that access and support to students that we put it in our 5-year strategic plan, meaning that our vision is in 5 years, we want to serve over 1,000 students on a post-secondary level. So what we want to do is enhance our college framework on the beginning to have them propel as a bridge to college, to our post-secondary programs. And we have about over 25 high schools that we're serving now. So our goal is to at least, at minimum, work with 10 students per school to get them prepared for this next journey.
And our story begins back in 1993 when CIS South Central Texas was founded. Through that journey from 93 to 2006, our CEO, Chris Douglas, started to see that there was a need for continued programming after the graduation stage. We had gotten really good at helping our kids graduate from high school. But when we went out into the community and saw what they were doing after high school, they were working at McDonald's and they were working at Burger King, and there was no goals for anything past that. So through a $17,000 budget and hiring a part-time employee to facilitate our program, which has come to be known as Project Success, we started working at 3 high school campuses and served 53 seniors. Through the journey between 2006 and 2013, around 2008, I was a site coordinator and started working with the woman that was our Project Success coordinator, and I learned everything from her on college access and college engagement. So I started working with her and then came out about 10 years ago and started directing the program. And through that, we discovered there had to be more than just a person developing a relationship with our alumni. So we started creating programming. We started hiring. So now we have 2 full-time employees. And we started looking at hiring more employees. We also discovered that we needed to train our alumni to be peer mentors. And so with that, we started our alumni leadership program. In 2014, we discovered that in order for them to continue to persist through college, they needed more leadership skills. And so we created our Summer Life Bootcamp program. And that was created, the curriculum was created with 10 of our alumni, and we served 43 high school graduates that year. It's also the year that our Alumni Association was born. Those boot camp leaders came to us and said, we need more. We need leadership requirements. We should expect dues. And so our association was born from that year. In 2019, our alumni created their own Alumni Association board, and they began their own website with the goal of helping other alumni. And you can see their website there, CISSCTalumni.com. And then presently, this last school year, we were working on 6 high school campuses. We had 2 full-time employees, myself as the director, and we have a project success coordinator who is also one of our alumni and has been hired full-time. We served 91 seniors. We had 28 peer mentors, our alumni leaders who were mentoring 34 new high school graduate alumni. We had 12 of our alumni graduate from college, and we have 12 Alumni Association board members.
Awesome, awesome. Because we know that we introduced the barriers that students face, we know we had to come up with some equitable solutions. So a part of our solution that we want to continue to do with our Alumni Association programming is on the college and career access framework side. That's with college readiness opportunities, from college tours, application assistance, test prep opportunities, parent engagement, understanding of financial aid, filling out the FAFSA, introducing them to scholarship opportunities, scholarship boot camp, scholarship workshop. These are things that our site coordinators collectively do in partnership with our schools, our counselors, or different organizations around. But also, we want them to have an understanding, because we know everybody won't go to college, but we still want them to have some career shadowing opportunities. So from our great corporate entities of our board to our corporate entities just in the Metro Atlanta area, I believe Atlanta has a representation from every major Fortune 500 company somewhere or another, and we have several headquarters. So we want students to have that access to them. That's one thing we believe in, is equitable access opportunities. So when they bring in jobs, we want our students to have some access and exposure. Another aspect is financial education, introducing them to understanding what home ownership looks like instead of being a renter. We know that's one of the biggest things to living that American dream is being a homeowner, understanding real estate investment on the entrepreneur side, but in addition to career planning. We have students that have been exposed to different fields in STEM. We have STEM programs, after school STEM programs. We have weekend STEM programs and then we take them to field trips where they can see where learning robotics in the 3rd grade can lead to a 6-figure job by age of 21, just on your experience. But as you said, once a student graduates, we want to have some kind of bridge opportunity where they have some tools and resources and some mentoring from alumni students or people that's been there. Hearing from me is one thing, but hearing it from a college student that understands what they're about to go through is another. So having that bridge program, we have a few partners that provide dorm essentials to students who don't, to take that financial burden off through a major corporate partner that we had to show that collective impact. And once we get into that alumni association programming, those 4 pillars of financial support, social and emotional support, mentoring, coaching, and resource linkage, which we'll talk about more in depth later.
So the solution at South Central Texas is twofold. We have a first phase, which is how it all began with our Project Success program, which is going out to all of our high schools and having a dedicated staff that goes there 1 day a week to sit with our case managed juniors and seniors and help them do whatever it is they need to do to have a plan for after graduation. So that can look like helping with SAT, ACT tests, helping them with ASVAB if they're planning to join the military, different testing that's required for us in the state of Texas, taking them on 2- and 4-year college tours that our alumni are giving so that they can get a look and have the true experts of what it means to be a first-gen student making it through college, having that voice from our alumni. We help with the financial aid process. That does include FAFSA and TASFA. We are very dedicated to helping our underdocumented students who are dreamers and helping them to gain college access, helping them with scholarships and finishing up those applications. We're helping them later in the semester while they're still in high school with their meal plans and their dorms and any shots that they need, and signing up for orientation. It's talking about the things that they need to have information about to be successful in college, and talking about college transition and professor expectations and time management. And a big piece of this is having some kind of financial resources to help with these needs. So when our students need to pay for a test or send a transcript or send an application, or maybe even need that dorm deposit, we have some money available to help them so that we can meet that need. Additionally, in phase 1 is our Life Boot Camp program. So that's where we hire our own alumni to be camp counselors. Our curriculum has been the same curriculum since the beginning when we first started. It's changed themes, but it's all about creating grit and resiliency. We have 2 wilderness camping trips their first summer so that they can start to dig into their trauma stories and figure out what could keep them from being their best selves in the next phase of their life. We're bringing in college professors, and summer creates a sense of family with other alumni and with the affiliate. Our phase 2 is all about alumni engagement. So this is everything fun and it's everything alumni. It's bringing them together for different engagement activities during the year. It's doing Zoom parties. It's having our alumni leader peer mentors. It's having our alumni association board, and it's having 5 wilderness camping trips a year, which are opportunities for them to come back. And I know some of you may be thinking, we don't camp. Well, that's okay. You can do whatever that means for you in your area. If the person that's helping lead this cause is really into crafting, then have crafting things. If you're really into business etiquette and doing resumes and things like that, do more of that. It's figuring out what works for my area and how do I pull together programming that's going to meet the needs of our alumni.
So here's a snapshot of the framework we have in community schools of Atlanta. Just piggybacking off of what Liberty discussed. We assess the needs of our community. We assess the needs of our students. And that's basically how we created this framework. And we looked at a few models that are going on with some of our partners that we know do the work, but we know we needed to really dig a little bit deeper. Therefore, we pretty much say, hey, we have an evidence-based model that helps from K through 12. Let's do the same model. Let's do something that the students are accustomed to, whether from the consent forms to the integrated student supports that they receive. All right, our monitoring and adjusting and our evaluation fees. That's the proven success. So what we did was, upon high school graduation, we had our site coordinators recommend students to get into the alumni program to make them feel a part of it, to understand that you will have support on the next level. You will have support post-secondary. So if you did go to the military, you will have some kind of support, but mostly in the framework, we know the biggest way to combat economic inequalities that's going on in Atlanta, which leads the country in economic inequalities, is education. Education is the equalizer. One thing you cannot take away is education. All right. So in that transition, we have bridge programs, we have orientations that we provide to the students. But the biggest thing I believe is that needs assessment we do for the students. We ask everything from their family background. What is the highest level did you graduate? Did your parents graduate or finish in school? What is your economic circumstance right now? Your household income. So it goes to the 185 million in Atlanta alone. The average household income for an African-American family is only 28,000. However, for a Caucasian family, it's 77,000. That is an issue. That is a major issue that we're trying to solve one student at a time. Therefore, we will also want to know, does the student need coaching? Does the student need mentoring, resource linkage? The student, that's the first way of the student advocating for themselves. And we also lead, hey, how has COVID impacted you? How has COVID impacted your family? Did you lose family? We want to know everything. That's the data that we get. So that's where we understand the supports that we have. Some students probably need a text message or a phone call twice a week versus another student just need once a month. One student may need tuition assistance, and another student may be a student athlete, but may need groceries during the off season because their scholarship is not covering that. So we have our students, we look at each student and they all have a wide range of supports that's needed. But biggest thing, we also look at who's on the same college campus. That's why our partnerships form. We have some students, almost up to 20 students on a campus, and we want them all to get to know each other. So we do a lot of collaboration. So, and ultimately graduation, but inside that, that's internships that we try to get to the students. That's graduate school opportunities, recommendation letters that we're writing for graduation. So whether it's a student going to graduate school or law school or going straight into the workforce, we want them to be prepared.
And just as I had shared with our different phases, this is just another look at that, starting with high school graduation. As we come into the 21-22 school year, we're going to be on 7 high school campuses. We provide that transition layer of our summer life boot camp. We have our alumni leader peer mentors who are there to provide that support to our brand new graduates for a full year out of high school, and with the requirement of providing 3 services a month. We have that alumni engagement piece that is bringing them together for Zoom and in-person and volunteer opportunities. It's bringing in those different camping trips that allow for the building of resilience. And then we have our alumni association, which is what I had shared about, that they have to sign an agreement, they have to pay yearly dues, they have to volunteer at least 6 hours per semester. And then we have our 3 committees on our alumni board that has started 2 years ago, which is alumni engagement, social capital, and strategic communications. And they run that board totally on their own. They have their own Instagram, they have their own website. And so it's really about, as you start to create these alumni engagement programming, it's allowing them to to take the lead on that. They are the experts in what alumni want and what alumni need. And so, yes, we're there to help make sure they stay mission driven, but we're also there to allow them to create programming that is right for the alumni in the area that they're serving.
Absolutely. And our next few slides, you're going to see we have so many things in common. While the South Central Texas affiliate has been doing alumni programming for a while, and we're just starting, we all have the same goals and mission, which is pretty much similar and alike. So our focal point, we have the 4 E's. All right, we talk about the big thing that we're focusing on is enrollment. And that's what we want to look at, trying to get students enrolled in associates or bachelor's degree program of institutions of higher learning. And not just getting them there, but finding the resources with an intentional approach of making them, having a 2.5 requirement, making sure that we're tracking their grades every semester so they can be on track. If there's any conversations or with the advisors that we have to do, sometimes helping them switch their major, deciding on what major to select. And that goes back to that career pathway. We want to make every step make sense. Also understanding that we're going to help combat those barriers. But one of the biggest things we see next is formulating partnerships on the college and university level. So we have several in-state institutions that we have a lot of students that we want to formalize a partnership with, that we can have data sharing. That would be a little bit more easier on the students and us getting their information, that we may have an office space on campus to provide that support, whether it's a school that's 3 hours away, 4 hours away. And for our out-of-state students who need that nurturing or that home away from home feeling, developing partnerships with those too. We have the evidence and the support where we had a technical school that we had a partnership with away, but we really want to formalize these partnerships now.
And employment and enlistment are 2 big pieces. We can't forget that not all of our kids want to go to college. Not all of our kids have any, they're not going to do well in the college environment. And so it's creating a pathway into career and trade programs. It's helping them with certificates, maybe in phlebotomy or something in auto body or massage therapy or cosmetology. And it's also helping those who want to enlist, helping them with that ASVEB, understanding the importance of that test, helping to connect them with recruiters, and then helping them and their family understand what all that information means.
Absolutely. And entrepreneurship is cyclical. Once we find out what a student passion is, that's through that one-on-one conversation. Like, what is your passion? What do you want to do in life? Some people may want to have their own t-shirt business, what we have. And we want to give them insights on marketing, how to brand. And we have some of these talents and skill sets in-house. Get them connected to our marketing department, or find somebody who has a successful clothing line business to get them closer to those areas. And some students are doing that while they're in the military or while they're in college. Some people we have students that are cosmetologists or barbers while they're on campus, and they want to own salons. So really give them the access to successful entrepreneurs, because that is another way to additional revenue streams, which again will help combat that economic inequality piece. So this is the framework of how we help students achieve in life. Financial support. So tuition assistance is one of our tuition and housing assistance is definitely one of our biggest buckets, where we're paying upwards of $5,000 to $2,500 per semester, because students, after their financial aid, after the grants, in some cases after the loans, they still have insurmountable debt. Fortunately, if they're not paid by a certain date, those students will get dropped from those classes in the middle of a semester. Imagine what that does to somebody who doesn't have the support. It will force them to drop out. It goes to that 3.9 million that we alluded to earlier. So having that support of tuition assistance, groceries, housing, groceries combats food insecurity. Food insecurity is real big on the college campus. Some kids go into housing because it cuts out of the tuition if they get their own housing. And sometimes they need a foundation foundational support to help them get their rent before their refund checks come in. So that's where we come into. Books. We all know books can range from $50 to $500 if you have a lab. So having that support for those students participating in the program, knowing that it's access to it.
And a couple of other pieces that are so important to this Achieve in Life is having that social emotional sustainability and resource linkage. So just really helping them navigate into the college environment, into the workforce environment, helping them to know what to do, learning how to advocate for themselves, knowing that they have a place that they can call home, that they can come back to when they need to talk through something, when they're having a hard time with anxiety, or they need to talk through a difficult situation with a professor. So just providing that social emotional piece for them, but then also giving them the skills to be able to go out and acquire resource help on those campuses. And that can look like help with admissions, or maybe there's a financial aid hold that they have. Maybe they need to figure out, is there a food pantry on campus, or they need to go into counseling. So it's helping give them the skills to advocate for themselves, role modeling it for them, not doing it for them, and then allowing them to go out and do it on their own, and then come back and check in with you and talk about what they learned.
Awesome. Yes, for first generation college students, we talk about professional mentoring and coaching. We all have access to people, whether it's a lawyer, whether it's a doctor, whether it's a nurse practitioner or a traveling nurse. We go that deep to see, okay, we understand your major, but what is it that you want to do? All right, so that's that professional and career coaching, giving them access to those people in those careers so they can have a mentor or a pipeline to get them to that career aspect. But also coaching day to day. Some students need to be coached. We might have an athlete who was a star student, star athlete, or the big fish in their hometown. And next thing you know, they go into the school and they're not getting playing time, and all of a sudden they want to quit. No, you're not going to quit. We're going to coach you up to help you get to the confidence that you need to be successful. Or the students, which we find out, they may have been a valedictorian in the top 10%, but go to a big major university, and all of a sudden they have what is called imposter syndrome. They feel like they don't belong, or they're not smart enough, or they don't have the tools. We provide that confidence and support to get those students through to the next level. And also, resource linkage is important, and that's like Liberty alluded to earlier, having the resources to the counseling, the food pantries on campus, or really, and if need be, the president or the vice provost on the campus to help them with their issues or even stories, or in some cases helping students get into the student government association if they need to be in there, but that giving them the confidence to be advocates. How do we help you achieve in life? So these are the outcomes. In a perfect world, we would like all of our students in both our programs. And the biggest thing for everybody, you want to have realistic outcomes that if a student finished, they will have understanding and have a skill set, and they can put this on their resume or have some kind of item. So professional development, bringing in professional speakers from resume writers, soft skill development, giving them the tools and best practices to be successful in professional career, and that's through exposure.
And, one of the big things that we always talk about, and I'm kind of jumping ahead to global impact here, but I always tell our alumni, how do we change the world? We change the world one alumni at a time. And if we provide a sense of volunteerism and leadership in these alumni and create in them the skill set to be able to go out and change the world through their volunteerism, through their leadership, then they're going to have that global impact where their hands are reaching out and touching so many more people than we as CIS could ever touch.
Agreed. So we're going to do a quick demographic. As we said, we do a needs assessment. the biggest number I want you guys to see with our first generation, 60% of the students in our alumni program, their parents only finish high school. And if you go all the way through how many, you only have 20% that at least have a college degree. So that's the numbers that we look at to say, hey, we want to make sure we flip the number. At least 80% of these students finish with their college degree in 4 years. And then we look at our background demographics, right? 90% of our students come from low income backgrounds. 70% of them are first generation college students, where in addition, 88% of the students receive a Pell Grant. The number that we really want to reduce is 57% of the loans, and that will help with our college access program, scholarships. So we encourage, once you have that data, we want the next group of students to be reduced. We want less loans and more grant-funded opportunities.
And for us, we're looking at things a little bit differently. Last year in 2020, 21, we were working intensely with 102 alumni. So that would mean that might look like college career counseling. That could be more clinical counseling. It could be resource acquisition. So it's working with those 102 alumni. 85% of them were low income, 85% first gen. 17% of our alumni are McKinney-Vento homeless or were at some point of our programming. 79% were received scholarships. And out of those, 19 of them have a full or partial scholarship. And we have been blessed that we have 3 different families in our community who gift us with a total of $72,000 a year for us to give to our alumni. So we have had 13 alumni who have received those gifts that we give out. And then we have in our alumni engagement programming right now, 37% of those are college graduates, 6 with associate's degrees, 28 with bachelor's degrees, and 4 with master's degrees. And we also look at our high school project success program and the classification of those students. 83% of those students are low income, 87% first generation, 13% foster care youth, 11% McKinney-Vento, and 51% receiving scholarships.
And this is the fun part for you guys. The how-to guide, what you really need, why stay connected, because we want to connect the why. Marketing. This is an opportunity, having alumni come back, whether it's your fundraiser, whether it's going to a potential stakeholder. This pretty much is a return on investment, whether it's for a school district or whoever funds different programs at your school-based sites. Having alumni come back, leading that conversation is very, very big. It's a great marketing tool. And we ran a few campaigns behind our alumni. We've had them speak at donor dinners. We always add an alumni story or impact story on our annual report. So that is a great tool to engage.
Yeah, and we want to engage our alumni with other alumni. Our other alumni understand and have the words and the feelings that help them understand what they're going through. Our alumni are the true experts. I keep saying that, but they are. We don't necessarily know what it feels like to walk in their shoes. We can say and tell them that we understand how difficult that must be, but we don't know what it means to be the CIS student, but our alumni do. So that's one of the big whys we need to stay in contact with them.
Absolutely, and the benefits to continue engagement. They are the proof. Just like we say here at community school, our site coordinators are our most important assets of the work that we're doing. And I will also add that our alumni, they are the most important showing of our return on investment, like I alluded to earlier. They are proof. They are evidence from some kids that may come through a K program, elementary, middle, high school to the alumni program. That shows family sustainability. it shows that these programs are much needed. So wherever you start, you can start small, but it will definitely help to keep them engaged. And they will also serve as great mentors, great volunteers for some of your other initiatives. And ultimately, you guys could employ alumni. You can have an alumni on your board, or just like the CEO of Community School, Mr. Ray, he's a former product of the program as well. He's an alumni. So that really gives us the opportunity to show the importance of giving back. So keeping them engaged.
And staying connected, it is one of the ways that we're able to celebrate what our alumni have done in their lives. If we're not staying connected, we're not going to know what all of the great achievements that they've made. It also allows us to show the impact of CIS in ways that we can't just tell those stories ourselves, that it helps them to be able to share their stories. It also helps our own board and our own site coordinators to understand the true impact of the work that we're doing. So developing the CIS relationship that becomes the alumni relationship, I can't say this enough, but it has to begin in elementary school or whenever that child starts in CIS. They need to know that every CIS employee loves them and believes in them. We need to provide opportunities for our children that are school age to connect with other school age children, and our teens to connect with other teens on other campuses through field trips or summer activities. We need to help them understand that the CIS relationship is not just with the site coordinator. Because the reality is, and something that we've seen happen time and time again, if the relationship is only with a person, when that person leaves or retires, and there's only a relationship with that person, or they graduate, there is no relationship with the organization. They don't see themselves as alumni. They see themselves as Miss Johnson was my person, but they don't see the bigger picture in that. We also need to help our students understand that there's other affiliates, that we're not the only CIS affiliate, that our site coordinators are not counselors, that they are CIS site coordinators, that we are a CIS affiliate, that there are other affiliates in our state, and that there is a national network that is behind them, that believes in them, and that loves them.
Absolutely. It is a powerful network that we want to make strong. And the engagement really starts the day of graduation. We want to keep them engaged to let them know that it doesn't end for them. That whenever they see the house, whether they're in the airport and see a billboard, they can know that they are part of this. So that engagement, again, you want to bring them, you want to have that story coming into a new, sometimes you're training new staff, you want to hear that alumni story to say, hey, this is a product of our finished work. And as you stated earlier, you want to keep them empower them to be leaders. When you put them on your board, they can hear the story in itself, and they can ignite somebody to say, hey, you know what, we need to raise the funds to have these said programs. So starting with somebody who you know you impacted the most, you met them where they are, you help them eliminate a barrier, and then whether it's in college through phone calls without a budget, helping whatever you did to help that student get to the next level or get to their goals, you want to make sure that story is captured. So the contact, you want to make sure phone calls, time sometimes is bigger than the treasure. The time that you put into these students with a phone call, text message, just say, hey, I'm thinking about you. Or just a message on social media, say, hey, this is an opportunity, I want you to look into it. And then when they're back in town or in the area when things are safe, having face-to-face engagement, whether it's coming to the school, talking to an elementary school class, or coming to the office to check in and catch up. We need that continuous engagement. And it starts the day after graduation.
And it's just important that we never lose sight that programs don't change lives, relationships do. So it's about a relationship. And a relationship means that there has to be some contact, There has to be some engagement. It can't just be saying, hey, I need you to speak at something, and then not talking to them until you need them to come out and speak again. It's having that constant communication with them and starting wherever you're able to start. So if you can't hire a full-time person, it's figuring out what can we do? What can we do so that we can begin to develop the relationship, because we understand that it is all about relationships.
Absolutely. Strategy. The crawl, walk, run approach was great for us. We didn't want to start too big. Again, we're in over 60 schools, 60 elementary, middle, high school, and you break it down, we're in more than 20 high schools across 4 different districts. So you want to have a focus somewhere. So if you started now, it's a great time to start with your current seniors. If you have seniors on caseload, have a small group. If you're in 5 high schools, you have seniors on caseload, probably work with about 5 students. Don't stress your staff too much, but have realistic goals. All right. Use your already existing alumni as engagement tools. So even though you may not have something official, you may have a student that's in college as a freshman now that just graduated that you can start with to have light engagement with students in college. So engage older alumni as well. So when we say older alumni, it may be a city council person. It could be somebody who works as a teacher at the school who probably walked up to you and said, hey, I used to be a student in that program. Re-engage them to tell the why. But the biggest thing, if you have, again, all you need is about 2 or 3 for those potential funders, a current high school student, a student as a freshman in college, to tell their story. And that's will at least get your foot in the door.
And I want to go back to what Caleb was saying. You know, if you're on 60 campuses with 60 different groups of alumni or high school graduates, that may seem like there's no way we can capture all of them. So develop a strategy. Like he said, choose 5 of your high schools and start there. Invite alumni to come back to your affiliate and talk to your seniors. Use the different engagement tools that are already available through the network, maybe through town halls where alumni have spoke. Develop a Survey Monkey or some kind of Google form so that you can discover what forms of social media they use. Social media is the way that most young people communicate. And so if you tweet and they don't, then you're not going to communicate well together. So it's going to wherever they are and creating whatever platform they are most on. And then it's collecting that data and starting this year. Make a plan to either use a Survey Monkey or a Google form or something where before they leave, you have their address, their phone number, their emails, their social media handles, and have some kind of plan of one way that you can engage with them this summer before you lose them.
And again, we taking a deeper dive into staying connected, how we do it. Cell phone and transportation. So having that phone call, again, it could vary. You can have a schedule that you want to reach send these students a text message or a phone call, or at night on the weekends. You got to understand their schedule. That's another thing we put in that needs assessment. When is the best time for phone calls? Do you prefer Zoom? Do you prefer text message? Do you prefer social media? So we got to meet them at their needs, but at some point, we teach them how to have email etiquette, how to read their emails twice a day. And then transportation. Sometimes, during when the pandemic first occurred, we had so many students that weren't prepared to come home and they didn't have rides. So what we did, we got in our vans and picked them up. All right, some kids, we had to put them on a bus or a plane. If need be, we'll put them on a train. It just depends on whatever the need is, because we understand that some students have those barriers, but we know that well in advance, and we know which students to reach out to immediately.
And again, just going back, I can't stress it enough. Part of staying connected is not just texting them. It is not just calling them on the phone. It is email. For the younger generation, they don't understand the importance of email yet. So if all you're doing is emailing out to your brand new high school graduates, you're probably not capturing them. So again, going back to that social media, using Zoom and things like that to engage with them face to face, and then having a plan for engagement. How are you going to stay connected? What are some either volunteer opportunities that you could line up, or what are some engagement strategies that you could pull together? As you can see, we have many. But one of the things that I highlight is, after 15 or at 15 years of engagement, we're now at 89 volunteers for last year, and they volunteered, and I'm talking about for our organization or for their alumni association, 2,653 hours. That is huge. And so keeping that connection going is a win-win, not only for them, but for the organization itself.
Absolutely. Another area of staying connected, regardless of, for our student athletes, we have something called locker room leadership, where they were, during their breaks, they rarely get breaks, but during their breaks, they were going to their schools. We had a young man on the national championship Alabama team that went back to his school, or speaking to other students about that experience. But during the pandemic, when everything was virtual, we had virtual calls. When we had the schools going virtual and tutors were needed, we had students step up to be tutors to put that volunteerism in, or going to their schools to serve during the food distribution sites. So when we're looking for volunteers, because we are engaged with our alumni, that's some of our first people that we can contact when we have volunteers. And what we want to do, we can go on for days and days about our success stories. This is one of the campaigns that we ran, was called Behind Every Cap, There is a Story. Just think about it. Although somebody graduated, we'll see the smiley pictures on their face, but we don't know the story behind the cap. So this is the story of our first alumni, Ariana Hollister. So while she has $1 million smile in all those pictures, when she was a senior, we really discovered that she had barriers of housing insecurity, homelessness, food insecurity, that she was economically disadvantaged. But in spite of all that, she maintained her academics. But the biggest thing that hurt our hearts, that she was working up to almost 40 hours a week and going to school as if she was a full-time employee, just so she can support her family. However, with the support with communities and schools, we were able to help her get through Howard, and now she's working at Accenture. Not only is she working at Accenture, our CEO, Frank Brown, through his Leadership Atlanta classmate, who is now the North American president of Accenture, she has a personal mentor to help her through Accenture, and she lives in Washington, D.C. So just reading her quote, just a snippet of her story. Sadly, my doubt didn't just begin during my senior year in high school. Throughout my upbringing, I've always seemed to have tumultuous experiences. To painfully illustrate how I grew up in a household full of hushed tones and poverty, imagine your father being sentenced to 35 years in prison. Imagine your mother being evicted every few months, forced to live in cars and motels. Imagine being the eldest of 5 girls and having to explain to your sisters that they were much more than what they were being exposed to. Because she graduated, we also added her sisters on our case, and her sisters have been graduating on time. So we helped change, we had a part in that story, changing that economic trajectory for that young lady. So her pathway through persistence, yes, she was a first generation college student, but she was able to get 2 internships at Fortune 500 companies. She graduated magna cum laude. She's also a full-time technology engineer analyst at Accenture, but because she wants more, she's also in graduate school at Georgia Tech. So her grind is not stopping, and we are here to support her. And also, we talk about engagement, use her for speaking engagements. She has been recognized as an outstanding alumni. We hope to put her on the national stage because we believe that more people need to hear her story.
And this is Chris Tucker. He is one of our alumni. He graduated from Samuel Clemens High School in 2014. And when I met Chris when he was a junior in high school, he had recently relocated into our area after his mother's murder. He was battling depression, homicidal thoughts, and suicidal ideation. When I first met Chris, he has these awesome dreads. And he had them, if you can see his graduation picture where it says, "I'm changing the picture," they were about shoulder length, and he would keep them in front of his face all the time, and he wore a hoodie. So he was always in a very, very sad place. By listening to what he had to say, by telling my story, I think you will understand why I credit CIS for saving me after my mother was shot and killed in a double suicide in 2011. I will never forget when the call came that day. I felt a lot of emotions, but I also felt weak and self-blaming. I frequently had both suicidal and homicidal thoughts. After the funeral, my sisters and I went to live with our aunt and uncle in Schertz, Texas. They got us into multiple counseling sessions, but that didn't help. It only thickened the wall I had put up. That all changed when I met my site coordinator, Miss Richter, and Miss Liberty with Project Success. They provided me the wraparound support that I desperately needed. CIS gave me another family and allowed me to express my emotions and grow. Knowing me now and knowing my story, you'd think you were looking at two different people. I am now a graduate of Texas A&M Corpus Christi with a business administrative degree with a focus in accounting, and am currently pursuing my master's of accountancy and working on my CPA license. And the reality is that didn't happen at the graduation stage. This was an unfolding of events. Chris went on to go to our summer boot camp where he started to work through his trauma story. He then became a boot camp leader the year later so that he could come back and start giving back to the next generation. He went with us to town hall in 2017 and 2019. He graduated from A&M Corpus Christi in 2018. He spoke at the Texas legislature on behalf of communities and schools in 2019. He was part of our inaugural Alumni Association board and was the director of Capital. He was a speaker and co-host this last year at the National Bilingual Graduation. He is about to move to New Jersey, and he'll be working full-time with an accounting firm there. He had an internship that we helped get him in 2019, 2020, and he was taking a break on his master's degree due to COVID, and he's going back in 2022. So this is proof that continued engagement changes their life. And this is just two young people. There are so many more, and it's why it's not fair when they graduate that we say, bye, good luck. They need us. They want to stay engaged.
Absolutely. All right, we talk about collective impact, and I know that we're pushed for time and we want to allow time for questions. So this is just a snapshot of partnership. We thankful, like we said, Atlanta has a corporate headquarters. The Coca-Cola company has been with communities and schools for a long time, committed to academic achievement, student excellence, and now this alumni journey. The big part of them, they help with the college excursions. We've taken students to LA, to New York, to Washington, DC. And we don't just go just to show them around to the city. They go to the corporate headquarters. They're not sitting down meeting with tour guides. They're talking to CEOs. They from ABC News to Yahoo to YouTube to Mattel to the FBI headquarters. They're talking to major key players to show them that they can actually be here. And then with Cummins Inc., we're so grateful for them to provide the dorm essentials. They've, in a 2-year span, they've invested in almost 150 kids, providing them dorm essentials, college trunks that really help them along the way. What we have for funding, I know opportunities, we've had grants from UPS. We've been fortunate to get a grant from communities and schools because it's a part of their strategic plan. So we appreciate our investors that provide support for our alumni programming.
What started with $17,000 for us has grown and grown and grown. As you can see from this, we have partnerships with industries and home builders and different organizations in our community. We are a Texas Parks and Wildlife grant recipient, as well as a Texas Outdoor Family partner. We're really using the resources and the community the different business owners in our community who love CIS, but are so that we're not competing for money with communities and schools. Project Success is always looking for somewhere that the money can be brought in a different way so that we're not competing against each other.
This is just a breakdown. Last year, we spent over $60,000 invested into students. As you know, we've grown, so the budget wasn't always there. We had to start small and address the need. We were able to get COVID-19 funding from a generous grant that helped out with from BET. In addition to that, we had other funding that assisted with providing 44% of that money going into tuition assistance. Again, all those students were going virtual. They still had the burden of needing assistance with tuition, housing. So while some campuses weren't closed, you had homeless students. We have students that don't have a home to go to, so they needed to live off-campus housing. Technology, while it says 5%, we provided over 20 laptops to students. We just were able to get a good deal on the laptops during the time because it was a great need for students to create their virtual work.
And here we are. We started at a $17,000 budget, and over 15 years, we've grown to a $282,000 budget. And you can see that the biggest piece of what we're spending is in salary and benefits, just like all other organizations for the most part. We believe that we've got to have good staff that understand the needs and the roles that have to take place, that can come in with creativity to create change with our alumni. We have those $72,000 in scholarships that take up 25% of our budget. And then you see that we have this next big piece where it's our life boot camp, our alumni camping trips, and our high school needs. Because what we found out, we definitely have to have some money to help them get to the post-secondary piece, but then there has to be some kind of bridge that creates the alumni family. So what we found along the way is that summer boot camp and having those ongoing camping trips, which could be just engagement trips. It's just that our alumni enjoy camping and we have those relationships with Texas Parks and Wildlife, but we spend our money there because we know that when we keep them together, they keep coming back.
Question: We want you guys to connect with us. I know you might not have had questions probably during the presentation. It was probably a lot to sink in, but we want you guys to add. We definitely agree that we need more every affiliate, hopefully, to have some kind of alumni program because it makes the network more robust. As you said, we have multiple affiliates. So imagine the network where Atlanta students can connect with students in Seattle, or students in Seattle can connect with people in Tennessee. Tennessee students can connect with people in Texas. So that's the hope of creating a big, robust network where Leadership Town Hall, Alumni Town Hall could be its own entity. That's what the goals overall of the network. And we are excited that not only our affiliates are taking advantage of this, but it's a focal point of our national network. So please get engaged, get locked in, start somewhere. We're here for you. Connect with us, and we'll take the time to walk you through.
And I know that I don't see any questions on here, but I know that, our alumni have talked with many other alumni from across the nation. So definitely, like Caleb's saying, please reach out to us so that we can connect you with our alumni and your alumni, and then they can start talking with you about how to begin this engagement piece.
All right, thank you, Liberty and Caleb. We do have a question. What are the age range for the alumni? Do you adjust programming based on age?
So I don't mind starting there. We don't. What we found is our older alumni love to connect with our younger alumni, and our younger alumni need those opportunities to be role modeled by our older alumni. So We all of our engagement activities, everyone is invited to everything we do. So when we have a camping trip, like in November, we'll have one. There's going to be 28-year-olds with 18-year-olds coming together and creating that relationship. I will say the only thing that's different is the reason why we created the board, or why that came about, is because our older alumni do not have the time to invest as mentors. So they would rather sit on a board. So they do sit on our board. They also are mentors to our mentors. So they are college graduates with bachelor's and master's degrees. But every engagement activity has everyone of all ages.
Absolutely. Just piggyback. We looked at the data, and when we looked at how do we want to engage alumni, the biggest impact for us was getting high school graduates. And the thing that we're looking at, how long do they stay in? So it's probably going to be different phases of alumni. So those first 5 to 6 years after high school graduation, that's where we really want to have those intense supports as we develop and grow, to help those students that we know are first generation college students. They come from low income areas, and we want to probably get them closer to that American dream. So for us, we're trying to lock it in after high school graduation and provide that programming and support. So that is an amazing question.
Yep. So I did have a private question before we leave, was challenges. We know that funding is, of course, always a challenge, but was there any other challenges if someone wants to start that they should, that you guys experienced in starting a program?
I would definitely share it. Really, and the initial challenge was time in people, because I now thankfully is a division. Now I'm the alumni division manager, but you were doing program manager work and alumni work, so that's one thing. So really having the time, make sure you connect with the students as much as you can. Secondly, we didn't talk about the losses. We lost a student to gun violence. That's a challenge in itself, and the student was a promising young man, and he lost his life. So that's a part of the work. I dedicate my work to that young man, because he will be a junior in college today if he was still living. Excuse me, he will be a senior today. And he just after his first semester in college did well. So you have some challenges. Some students may have gotten kicked out of school, but we work through those challenges, just like regular caseload students. We meet them where they are. That's the reason why we're here. And for funding, we didn't get some grants that we probably wanted, that we thought we had a good shot at getting, but it really did not stop the work. It probably stopped the resources that we had, but we found ways to make it happen. So those are the challenges. And I know with this new work now, with the growth, it's going to bring new challenges because we have more people. But I think utilizing your team around you, the site coordinators who have that initial rapport with those students, to help with the connectivity and continued connectivity, that's how you overcome those challenges. And then with the financial challenges, keep applying for those grants. There's so many grants, because there is research that shows that these supports are needed from the college and career college and career readiness performance index scores. That there are more students based on their graduation from high school that are not college and career ready, because they may not be getting the rigor. So it's resources for those students. And then CARES Act funding as well, where you have schools, colleges that have been paying off tuition for students. You probably have access to some of that funding where you can provide to your alumni students.
Yeah, and I think for us, it's just been, there's always been challenges. It started first with just being a part-time person. And then the challenge was, how do we keep them in school? And then the challenge was, now we have all these alumni, so we need a full-time person to engage them. So what does engagement look like next? And so I agree with Caleb. It's starting somewhere, start somewhere small, have a achievable goal for next year, and then go back to the table at the end of every year and look at how do you find solutions to those challenges. And I cannot stress it enough, use your champion alumni you already have coming and speaking at engagements, even if they don't know each other. Bring them to the table and help them be part of the solution.
Awesome, awesome. Well, we are out of time, guys, but I really just want to give a big thank you to Caleb and Liberty again. So, woo. So thank you guys for sharing the information. Great information, great PowerPoint. Again, this session was recorded, so you guys, you will have access to this 30 days after today, after the leadership town hall, and we're going to try, if they let us share this PowerPoint as well, so you can have the information. Please take down the information, reach out to them. I know they're more than happy to work with you guys and answering the questions and walk you through starting the alumni program. And thank you guys for joining us. I enjoyed the information. I'm also an alumnus of Communities and Schools, Troup County, Georgia. So I love what you guys are doing, and I'm glad, and I love hearing the success stories. So thank you guys so much. All right, guys, we're going to take a break, and we'll be back on main stage at 3:30. So thank you, guys. Everyone, take care.
Good job.